my name is Dr. Michael Corey, and thank you for coming to the Fibromyalgia Recovery Workshop. For the past 15 years, I've provided top-notch quality care, effective care for patients with chronic conditions. I have thousands of hours in postgraduate study in neurology and endocrinology and blood analysis and orthopedics and functional medicine. I consult with over 500 other doctors throughout the United States and helping people with chronic conditions. Now, one thing for sure is that fibromyalgia is a manageable condition. It's something that you can overcome if we get to the root cause and if we leave no stone unturned and find out what the causes of your fibromyalgia symptom complex are. Now, up on the screen here, I've got a website. It's called lifechangingcare.com. This is part of the group that I had mentioned to you earlier with my consultation. And at lifechangingcare.com, you're going to see literally hundreds and hundreds of patients who have suffered from chronic conditions, including fibromyalgia, who have overcome it with the protocols that I'm going to present to you here in the office. Now, my job here is to help you reinvent your health and reinvent your life. It's about getting that quality of life back in so that you can lead the fulfilled life that you honestly deserve. Now, average life expectancy in the United States is 78 years old currently. My grandfather lived to be 101, so when we go through and we look at lifestyle changes and how we actually take care of ourselves throughout our life, it makes a big, big difference on our longevity. Now, average is 78 years old. If we start from the day we're born to your current age, wherever you're at, that's where we have to look at. Anything beyond there, there's absolutely nothing you can do about your health previous to today. But you have an open road to finding out how you can correct your health and live a higher quality of life, a healthier life. Now, my goal here is to help and provide you with a maximum positive impact so that we can make a difference in your life. But it takes a strategy, and we have strategies. That one is an exit strategy. Exit strategy away from the pain. Exit strategy away from your suffering, and an exit strategy to make sure that we resolve your underlying health problems. Now, part of well-being is optimum health. If we have symptoms and we're always in a state of dis-ease, think about the word disease. Dis-ease is dysfunction of certain areas of your physiology and of your function, causing a pathological process over a period of time, leading to a disease. Now, fibromyalgia is very, very much the same, and that my job and goal is to provide, once again, the reinvention of your life, of your health, maximum positive impact, and provide you with an exit strategy for your pain and for your suffering. We have the old and we have the new. We can't do anything about what's gone on in the past, but through lifestyle change, we can make a huge, huge impact. But you have to know what you need to change in order to obtain free health, free optimum health. We want to make sure that we ingrain in you a positive impact so you know what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, where the problems are in your physiology, and so that we can resolve the fibromyalgia with you. Now, what we're going to look at is what we call a web of physiological dysfunction. And as we look at that web of physiological dysfunction, we're going to see that with fibromyalgia in particular, we can look at and we can have a problem as far as with your thyroid. We can have hormonal problems. We can have liver dysfunction. We can have immune system imbalance. We can have mind-body issues. We can have cellular dysfunction, neurotransmitter dysfunction, blood sugar imbalances, adrenal dysfunction, which that helps you, the adrenal glands will actually secrete cortisol, which I'll talk to you about momentarily, and gut dysfunction. All of these pieces have to come together, otherwise you cannot resolve these fibromyalgia symptom complexes. Now, what we're going to do in our office is we're going to provide you with a neurological assessment form. And within that neurological assessment form, there's 42 questions. If you have 5 or more of those that are positive, we know that you have actually a brain-based problem. We've all been taught in elementary and high school that your right brain controls the left side of the body. The left brain controls the right side of the body. So we have to have that intercommunication between the left and right hemisphere of your brain to make sure that you're functioning properly. Now, an area of the brain called the mesencephalon is very, very important because this area of the brain can also cause the symptom complex as far as inability to think properly, inability to sleep properly. We have to have that communication between the left and right side of the brain in order for you to recover from fibromyalgia. It's a big, big part of the fibromyalgia care that we provide. So what type of brain-based problems do you have? And when we look at the frontal lobe, We look at the parietal lobe, we look at the temporal lobe and the cerebellum. Cerebellum is going to give you your fine position sense. It's going to dictate a lot of those normal functions that you take for granted, like standing up straight and not swaying off to the side and losing your balance. Now, fibromyalgia is also a big component as far as when we look at that metabolic assessment form, looking at how fibromyalgia functions through the brain. Now, if we do have a brain-based problem with fibromyalgia, we have to have a solution for it. We have to provide you with the therapies to make sure that we can get you well. Now, have you ever walked into a room and you forgot why you walked in there, or you walked through a parking lot and you didn't know, or you didn't remember, for the other hand, where your car was? That's usually caused by a problem in the temporal lobe. Now, other things that can occur from a brain-based problem is you're not really the person you used to be. Your husband or your wife is saying, you've changed so much, your personality is not the same. That's a frontal lobe. Fibromyalgia can affect the hippocampus, which in turn can affect your short-term memory. So as we move on and we look at some other areas of the brain, your parietal lobe. Pain is a constant problem as far as with fibromyalgia sufferers. So if you're experiencing tingling sensations, pain, tenderness, and all these other areas, your parietal lobe is very, very much probably involved with that. Now, the metabolic assessment form, we're going to go through each one of these, but what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the ramifications of how your colon works, your small intestine. We're going to look at your gallbladder function, or dysfunction rather, and we're going to look at your adrenal glands, we're going to look at your thyroid gland, and we're going to look at your pituitary function. Now, all of these are very, very important because, once again, this is a brain-based problem. And when we look at the metabolic assessment form, category 1 will depict the questions that are important for you regarding the colon's function. So if we have a brain-based problem and we have a colon problem, then we're leading into some of the complexes that can cause the fibromyalgia. And what we have is, how many doctors have you been to that have addressed both your brain-based problem and your colon problem without drugs? Probably none. Zero. Zippo. So what we want to do is we want to take it on a little bit deeper. And if you have fibromyalgia that's been caused by a brain-based problem and a colon problem, do you think that more medications are going to help you? Medications, once again, they're symptom-related. That's how they prescribe them. It's based on symptomatology. So what we want to look at is we're going to look at that brain-based problem, but we're going to open that web up and we're going to look at some other important areas. Now, categories 2, 3, 4, and 5 on our metabolic assessment form will look at your stomach functions. Category 4 is your small intestine. And 90% of your food is broken down in the small intestine. Now, you need two things to survive. You need fuel and you need activation. Fuel comes in the source of glucose from the foods that are broken down, the glucose, and your oxygen is the second requirement as far as from a food or fuel standpoint, and then activation, the brain-based therapy that we provide in the office. Once again, helping you resolve your fibromyalgia. Now, category 6 and category 7 we're going to do further investigation with is going to encompass your small intestine, your gallbladder, and liver. Very, very important. 90% of your immune system, 90% of your immune system does come from your small intestine, your gut function. So, like I say, 90% of your assimilation is from your small intestine, but 80% of your overall immune system is based on gut function. So your fuel supply and your activation are very important as far as in resolving that fibromyalgia complex. So therefore, if we have a bad gut and we have a bad brain, once again, fuel and activation activates the brain, makes the brain work properly and functional and the way it's supposed to. Now, this web of physiological dysfunction, when we go back into the metabolic assessment form, we're going to look at also your blood sugar. Category 9 encompasses the blood sugar. It should be 85 to 99. If you're below 85, you're burning off brain cells. You're killing brain cells if you have that blood glucose below that 85. If you're above 99, you're killing off brain cells. Once again, it's not an optimum functional range from your blood chemistry. So if we're above 100, then we're going to be insulin resistant. If you're above 126, you've probably been diagnosed with diabetes. So once again, blood chemistry is very, very important, your blood sugar. And once again, if you are insulin resistant, we need to make sure we handle that as well to help you resolve the fibromyalgia issues. These are underlying issues that we want to look at. The next thing we're going to look at is your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands sit on top of your kidneys, and on top of that, your adrenal glands will secrete cortisol. If your cortisol is released, then we have a release of epinephrine, which will in turn bathe those nerve fibers and therefore cause chronic pain. It's just chronic pain, and it's a chemical makeup of you that gives you dysfunction. And it's that same chemical makeup of you, as we get it straightened out, that can resolve your fibromyalgia. But we have to take the proper steps. We need to make sure that we leave no stone unturned, and we do the proper testing. Now, category 14 and 15 on your metabolic assessment form is going to be linked to the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland will assist the thyroid in secreting thyroid-stimulating hormone and breakdown of T4 and T3. T3 is the active form, T4 is the inactive form, which must be converted, once again, in the liver and in the gut system for it to be activated into the active form of T3, so your body can be metabolically sound. You literally have thyroid receptors in every single muscle, cell, and tissue of your body, and that has to be in balance for your metabolic activity to be normal. Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we understand that thyroid receptors are in virtually every muscle, cell, and tissue of the body, and we're going to assess you properly from your thyroid. Now, I had great pleasure and benefit of studying with Dr. Karazian. He is the author of Why Do I Still Have Thyroid Symptoms When My Lab Tests Are Normal? I highly recommend you get this book. This book is available on Amazon, and we utilize a lot of those protocols to help you recover from your fibromyalgia complex. So 90% of the immunity is based on how your functions are through the adrenals, through your blood chemistry, through your thyroid gland, your brain function, and the gut function. 90% of the immunity. So we want to resolve that fibromyalgia for you. Now, my job is to help you unlock your health and unleash the potential that you have, that you were born with. We don't want you to walk through life saying, I feel like I'm out of order, that I have brain fog, I have digestive issues, that we have heartburn, or we have other issues there. We have chronic pain. Once again, we're just having difficulty. You can't function properly. You can't sleep. You have to have 3 or 4 cups of coffee to get yourself going in the morning. Well, these are all linked in with that web of physiological dysfunction that we just talked about. Fibromyalgia, we've got the gut, we've got the thyroid, we've got the hormone problems, we've got the immune system, we've got blood sugar issues, we've got adrenal fatigue, and we've got liver dysfunction. So all of these things need to be looked at. We have to have a source of evaluating you, which we do very, very thoroughly. The next thing that we're going to look at is information that I'm presenting to you alone is not going to help you. We need to make sure that we have the knowledge, we put the pieces together, and we help you recover from fibromyalgia. Now, let me give you some more information because this might be eye-opening to you. And as we look at blood chemistry, this might be why you get your lab test back from your doctor and your doctor says, well, everything's normal, but you still feel sick. Well, let's take a peek at this. We have abnormal high values out here. These are the lab values that you get from your doctor when you are getting your labs back from the lab. You have a number here and a number here, a high and a low. Now, the functional range that we're going to assess you from, we're going to bring in those broad ranges, because those broad ranges are for sick people. We want to bring them in to where the healthy people are. And within that healthy range, we're going to be able to uncover some of the things that we're going to need to address with you. Now, let's look at some lab ranges to start off with. If we look at glucose, for example, 85 to 100 is within a functional range. That's an optimal range. We brought those wide ranges of 65 to 110 that your doctor prescribes and he looks at. We're going to bring them into 85 to 100 and we're going to assess you from that standpoint. Because if you have a blood sugar level of 73, you actually have hypoglycemia. Now, next thing we're going to look at, which is very, very important in your case, is TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. I just talked to you about how that's broken down into T3, T4. T3 is an active form, T4 is an inactive form that has to be converted in the gut. Now, the functional range is 1.8 to 3. The wide range that your doctor is looking at on the blood chemistry workup that you get back from your lab is 0.3 to 5.7. Big, big, wide range. And we want to bring that 0.3 into 1.8. We want to take the 5.7 down into 3.0. And we have 1.8 to 3. So we've taken that wide range of 0.3 to 5.7 and we've brought it right back down into a functional range where the healthy people should be. So please, let's take into consideration that how you're being assessed is from a sickness model, not from a health model. There's a big, big difference if you're just trying to fight disease rather than if you're trying to build optimum health. We can look at the same thing as far as with your triglycerides, your hemoglobin, and all the other markers on your blood test. So each and every one, we're going to do an assessment. We're going to give you a printout exactly what your blood chemistry looks like, and we're going to help you get to the root cause of why you're having the problems. Now, this is very, very important, and I don't know if it shows up on the screen up here or not, but it says you cannot poison your way back to health. Now, if you've been suffering for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and you're still suffering from fibromyalgia, you have to understand this more so than anybody else. You can get a muscle relaxer, you can get sleep aids, you can get a painkiller. All of those things will numb you and help you walk around another year with a foggy brain, not knowing what to do, how to cope, and how to function through your daily activities. We want to help you out of that. We want to help you break that cycle. This is not the cycle of a healthy person. Now, we're going to do some extensive blood labs, and we're going to do some blood chemistry that your doctor probably hasn't run. Some of the things that he has probably run is a complete metabolic panel. We're going to be checking your blood glucose, your liver, your kidneys, your iron levels, vitamin D, C-reactive protein, homocysteine, your A1C, and so forth. There's a lot of markers in there, and your doctor may have run all of them. Maybe they might have just run a shortened version of the complete metabolic panel or just partial panel. We're going to also look at the differentials. We want to look at your complete blood chemistry. We want to look at your eosinophils, your macrophages, your neutrophils. We want to look at the overall makeup of your blood chemistry, your white blood cells, your red blood cells. We're going to break them all the way down. We're going to look at your thyroid panel. Now, even the Mayo Clinic in general, when they see thyroid dysfunction, they're going to order 2 tests. They're going to order the TSH, and they're going to, if you're lucky, they're going to go through and they're going to also order the free T4. So if they order those 2, you have to understand that they're only seeing a partial picture of how your thyroid functions. We've got 10 markers here that we're going to look at, and we're going to get to the root cause. Once again, this is literally the Bible of thyroid function right here. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we go back and we look at those parameters of what gives you function, which ones don't, and as we discover what's not working with you, we can go ahead and turn those channels around and make sure that we get your blood chemistry back into balance. Not with drugs, not with more steroids, not with more hormones, but we're going to get your blood chemistry back normal if you follow our protocols. Now, next thing we're going to look at is your lipid panel, your cholesterol, your HDL, your LDL, your triglycerides and such. We also are going to do sensitivity testing with you if it calls for it and if there's a need for it. We utilize a lab here in California called Cyrix Labs. We're going to do an Area 2, which will evaluate your gut function and whole. These are like tests that you've never ever had done before. They get to the root cause. They'll identify different pathogens and different functions. Now the Area 2 in particular shows a degradation of epithelial lining within your intestinal tract. If we have those tight junctions that are broken open, we're going to get toxins within the bloodstream, and they're going to float throughout your body. We want to make sure that you don't have leaky gut. Now, some of the tests that the medical doctors will run for leaky gut are very, very inaccurate, and you have to understand that. These tests are very specific, and we're going to get to the root cause of why you're having the problems. Next one that we're going to look at is Area 3. This is a gluten reactivity test. We're going to look at your glutenin, we're going to look at gliadin, we're going to look at wheat germ, agglutins. This is a very specific test, and we want to see if you are gluten insensitive, gluten intolerant. Now this is a huge, huge issue out there today. You can see it all over the internet, but this is a primary thing that can be causing a lot of the problems that you're suffering from. We want to make sure that we identify all of the problems that you're suffering from so that we can make corrections. Area 4 is a cross-reactivity test. We're going to check you for corn, rice, potatoes, coffee, grains, dairy, soy. A lot of these foods will create an active response in your nervous system, and if you do have antibodies that are showing up regarding those and they're causing more inflammation in your body, we need to make sure that we dispel those away from your food intake. Area 5 is an autoimmunity panel. It'll identify other autoimmune conditions that you are susceptible for or you are also experiencing currently at this time. But the ones that you are susceptible for, you may develop over a period of time and you don't even know that you're having problems with them right now. Now we're going to do an organic acid test. This is a test checking your fatty acid metabolism, your carbohydrate metabolism, your energy production. We're going to check for methylation cofactor markers, we're going to check for neurotransmitter markers, and we're going to check for detoxification markers. Now, we're going to do a stool microbial test. This is through metamatrix.com. You can check out their information on there. Patients with autoimmune conditions, we need to make sure that we find out if you have parasites, mold, yeast, bacteria, or overgrowth of any type of viral component there. So we want to identify that as well. Adrenal stress index. Talked to you briefly about it just a few minutes ago, but your adrenal glands sit on top of the kidney glands. They are your stress organs. If you are having high cortisol levels, this is killing off brain cells. It's also causing high blood sugar levels. It's also affecting you in so many different ways you cannot even imagine. If you have insomnia, this is a must test that you need to make sure that you take. Hormone panels. We're going to check the male and female hormone panels. We want to make sure the estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone are all in balance and where they should be. Now, we're not going to just do blood tests. We're not going to just go through and give you assessments. We're going to also do muscle testing. We will do muscle testing with a sleep point, with an energy point, your stomach point, your adrenal glands, your liver point, and we're going to also check your thyroid. With a physical test in addition to the chemical test that we see on the blood chemistry. These are things that your medical doctor is not doing, and we have to get to the root cause. Now, our fibromyalgia recovery program utilizes a combination of both metabolic and neurological assessments. We want to make sure that we bring those pieces together. Now, when we have brain hemisphericity problems, remember earlier in the video I talked to you about your right brain controls the left side of the body, left brain controls the right side of the body. Well, with our examination, we're going to identify exactly where the brain-based problem is, how it can be fixed, but we need to bring those things into alignment, make sure that everything's firing properly. Your body is about stimulation. It's about sight, sound, touch, gravity on your joints, and how your body's interacting with its environment and toxins that you come into play with. So we want to make sure that we get you fuel and we get you activation. We're going to bring these things together because we have the cerebellum. I've talked a little bit about that, firing, position sense, how your arms and legs move. Most every movement that you encounter passes right through the cerebellum, and there's a big factor as far as how your cerebellum's working. Your midbrain, I mentioned the mesencephalon, very important as far as having that firing from your cerebellum up to the cortex of the brain passing through that mesencephalon. We're going to look at your hormone levels, your blood sugar levels, your oxygen deprivation, if you are processing enough oxygen or not. Oxygen and in the foods you eat, once again, that's your fuel, and we need activation. So we're going to take that into consideration. And I mentioned also your cortisol levels with the adrenal glands. So we're going to go through and we're going to make some corrections as far as with brain misfiring. And we're going to make some corrections with the metabolic dysfunction you have so we can bring all those pieces back together. And in addition to our care, it's not about just doing an assessment, it's about doing retesting. We want to make sure that we have continuous improvement in your outcome. That's the way that we do things here. We want to make sure that we treat you as a whole person. We bring all those pieces back together at the same time so that we can help you recover. Now, at this point, you really have two choices. And we can go through and take the medications and still stay dysfunctional in those other areas that I just reviewed with you. Each and every one of those is a very important component to helping you recover from fibromyalgia. Now, the other option that we have is you can do the same thing you've been doing, or else you can go towards an optimal health protocol. And that's what we're going to offer you here in our office, is an optimal health protocol that's going to help you get your life back. So I have 5 key questions for you that you need to ask yourself. On a scale from 0 through 10, how would you rate your desire to get better? If it's not a 10, then you're not ready for our program. Because what we need to make sure that we're having is we have patients that come in, and I don't accept patients if you're about a 3 or 4, you're not committed to making sure you make a change. Because if you are desiring optimum health, you have to have a great analysis, you have to have a great examination, and you have to get to the root cause. Like I said, I'm going to leave no stone unturned to help you get well. Second question I have for you is how has your fibromyalgia symptoms affected your relationships, your finances, your time with your family, and other activities that you probably aren't even doing anymore because you can't have the energy to do it. You hurt too much. Did you play tennis in the past? Did you like to jog that you can't do now? Is it just picking up your grandchildren or going to Disneyland for the day? So how has this affected you? And what I wanted to make sure that we look at is also, how much does it cost you in terms of time, money, and happiness and sleep? Sleep is very, very important. It rejuvenates your body. Your parasympathetic system kicks in, and the digestion kicks in, so that we can disseminate food and fuel and nutrition back out to all your muscles, tissues, and glands. So fuel activation once again. And where do you see yourself 1 to 3 years from now if you don't do anything about this at this time? As I showed you with that lifeline, it's very, very important we have a certain lifeline in front of us, and how we treat ourselves, what we do with ourselves on a day-to-day basis, our lifestyle that we incorporate is what's going to dictate whether or not that's a happy road or a sad and suffering road that we take and we go down in the future. And so if your fibromyalgia is not taken care of today, in the next month, 2 months, how are you going to be 1 to 3 years from now? And what is it worth to you if you can improve your condition? Now, all these questions are very, very important because it gets to the root cause of where quality of life comes in. Quality of life is what it's all about, and I want to help you have a higher quality of life. So what will happen on your first 2 visits with me? When you come in our office, we're going to have on visit 1, we're going to do a complete structural, neurological, and metabolic workup with you. We're going to review your existing lab work. We're going to also review your neurological assessment form, which we'll provide for you, and your metabolic assessment form, which we'll provide for you. So that's visit 1. On your visit 2, we're going to review the exam and neurological findings that we did on your day 1 visit with us. We're going to review your assessment forms. We're going to go over everything with this fine-tooth comb and help you to understand exactly what your condition is and what it will take to make sure that we can get you well. Now, if I accept you and your case, what we're going to look at is we're going to provide you with an overview of further testing that needs to be completed. Now, I reviewed those with you a little bit earlier. We're going to also give you an overview of the treatment plan, and we're going to review any financial obligations that you have towards this program. Now, one thing that's very, very important is when you come to your report of findings, it's very, very important you bring your significant other with you. We won't do the report of findings if your significant other is not with you. Now, this is very, very important because we need our patients to make sure that they have proper support at home. When we have proper support at home, we get much, much better outcomes because you follow the program to a T, and your spouse knows exactly what you're going through and what you're doing to correct it, so it can be supported. So action step that we have for you is you do need to set an appointment, and if we go through it and we will set an appointment, we'll get you the proper paperwork, we're going to do a consultation, we're going to do a neurological assessment with you, and we're going to provide you with the report of findings. Now, action step number 2, before you come in the office, if you have not gotten the paperwork from us before viewing this DVD, all your paperwork has to be completed in totality. Everything's got to be completed on there. If you come in and it's not done, we're going to unfortunately have to reschedule your appointment. So you will need to have the paperwork done. Secondary, you need to bring t-shirt and shorts for your examination. What we want to make sure that we do is do a thorough examination. We can't do a proper sensory testing with you if you have long sleeve shirts and long pants on. So those are requirements. Step 3, when you come in, you will have to set your report of findings appointment with both you and your spouse, as I mentioned. If your spouse isn't here, we're going to reschedule your report of findings until your spouse can attend, unless there's extenuating circumstances that your spouse cannot attend. Now, I've spent about 25 minutes with you or so, and there's a lot of information I've provided with you. Knowledge and wisdom is not the same thing as doing something, taking action. So wisdom is the knowledge and application that you need to have so that you can take action. I feel that I've presented a lot of this to you. You're going to get more and more of the information as we do your examination, as we have you do the assessment forms, and we want to make sure that we leave no stone unturned to make sure that we get you well. My goal with you is to help you live the most effective, natural life possible. We want to provide you with the protocols that are necessary so you can have a happy and healthy life, and that's really what it's all about. That's where I get so much satisfaction in helping people recover from these chronic conditions and make sure that they can go on to their family and enjoy their life again. So the next slide, as you see, what we're going to provide for you is a complete 2-day evaluation My normal fee is $240 for this evaluation. We're going to do an examination. We'll take necessary x-rays if needed. We will also sit down with you and spend that second day as we go through and report to you exactly what's needed. Our charge for that is going to be $60. That's going to be there to reserve your appointment. So without further ado, I'd like you to get started. I'd like you to come in the office, get the information that you need, and make sure that we can help you on your road to recovery from your fibromyalgia. My name is Dr. Michael Corey, and thank you very much for spending these 30 minutes with me. I look forward to helping you recover.